Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I spent all of 2024 ranking my 366 favorite video games of all time, and now I am back to rank some more. This is the inaugural video for a new thing on the channel that should be kind of the bread and butter recurring thing I'll be doing called Why Do I Like, where I've played a game thoroughly enough to tell you all of the reasons why I like it, and only sometimes thoroughly enough to tell you why it can annoy the hell out of me. And then at the end, I'll insert it into my rankings, which should, in theory, grow to some abominably large and unwieldy number over time, so that's fun. But without further ado, I give you one of the breakout indie hits, which has been responsible for countless sleepless nights and was nominated for many Game of the Year awards last year. It's Balatro. So if you've been living under a gaming rock for the last year-ish and don't know what Balatro is, congratulations! You've been exposed to one less highly addictive street drug than the rest of us. Balatro is crack cocaine mixed with heroin, or so I've been told. Remember kids, don't do drugs, but maybe do Balatro. So what do you do when doing Balatro? The game on the surface is like poker, kind of, but that goes away really quickly, like oh so fast, because the game is actually a roguelike deck builder. In fact, the biggest mistake you can make with doing Balatro is to assume it is poker. You use poker hands to formulate different ways to score, yes, but rapidly everything shifts. Each hand type is worth a number of chips with a multiplier. Take a single pair versus a double pair in poker, for example. In regular poker, double pair is always better than single pair, regardless of what the cards are. But in Balatro, that's not necessarily true. A pair is, by default, worth 10 chips with a 2 times multiplier. A 2 pair is worth 20 chips with a 2 times multiplier. But also, every card that's part of the scoring section of the hand gets added to the chips. So a pair that's 2 kings would get 10 chips per king added in, making it 30 chips with a 2 times multiplier. Still, a 2 pair would be better, unless it's double 2s and double 3s, then you're looking at the same result of 30 chips with the 2 times multiplier. It's the same. But we're just getting started. The goal is to make big numbers and clear point thresholds in a number of hands played, and you have a ton of ways to do this. Based on how well you do and other factors, you get money between each round. You can spend this money to do all sorts of things. You can buy planet cards that upgrade specific hands, like upgrading the pair to level 2 makes it now give 25 chips and a 3 times multiplier, making it much better than a vanilla 2 pair. You can spend money on tarot cards that allow you to modify your deck. Maybe you destroy cards in there so you have fewer than 52 now, skewing things into particular play patterns. Maybe you can upgrade a card or two to make them worth bonus chips. Maybe you change suits or turn a card to a stone that is just worth tons of chips but doesn't contribute to what your hand type actually is. There's loads of options, like turning cards into other cards or upgrading them so they become higher numbers, and all of this you'll make these decisions based on the next thing. The biggest and most important modification you can make is buying jokers. By default, you can have up to 5 jokers in your run. So what do they do? Man, what don't jokers do? This is how you really build your run around a strategy. For example, in this run, I have the Hack Joker, which re-triggers each 2, 3, 4, and 5 that I play, meaning I'll get their points again from playing them. That's nice and makes small number cards more meaningful and not worth as pitiful amounts of points, but that's far from where that stops. It also means that if I've upgraded these cards, they trigger again with the upgrade. Like, there's an upgrade that gives the cards bonus multipliers to your score, or my favorite in this strategy is the glass cards, which make it double the multiplier for the entire hand with a small chance of breaking the card. This also stacks, meaning I can let my scores get sky high because I was doubling the multiplier, then doubling again, gaining exponential growth. On top of that, my hack joker was also randomly modified to be polychromatic, meaning it is also multiplying the multiplier at the very end of everything, because of the way I ordered my jokers, to another 1.5 times. Using some simple math here, if I start with a, for example, 20 times multiplier is the base value from whatever hand I've leveled up a bunch, that's going to double to 40. Then doubled again to 80 if I have 2 glass cards, and then grow again to 120 from my hack joker. This is where the game gets pretty addicting, as the numbers go up and up and up and up, and seeing the point tracker for the round turn to flames when you just get way more points than you actually need is a magical experience, and I wish I could inject that feeling into my veins. As much as that's a lot of points, you're gonna need a whole lot of points. The game is made up of several, well, technically an infinitely scaling amount, of antes. Each ante is made up of 3 rounds. There's a small blind, a big blind, and a boss blind. The first 2 are exactly what they sound like. One has a small point threshold, and the next is larger. And then bosses, however, can be pretty tricky. Maybe they can make a certain suit not score at all, though they do still count towards the type of hand you play. Maybe they make it so you have to play all 5 cards for the hand each time, which I do want to mention one thing that wasn't immediately obvious to me, at least. Maybe I'm a big dum-dum, I don't know. But you can play extra cards that aren't part of the desired hand, and that's fine. Like maybe you want to play a 3 of a kind and put down triple 8s. You can throw in a 4 and a 5 there. They won't score unless you have the joker that says they do, but you get them out of the hand if you're digging for something better, so that's a way to cycle through the deck a little quicker. But really interesting bosses are like the ones that make your cards get drawn face down, or give some really weird restrictions about the cards you can play. They also, of course, have generally the highest point threshold you need to cross for each ante. Balatro's biggest strengths, however, isn't any one particular mechanical structure, but rather how insanely replayable it is, while not even feeling repetitive. You start off with just one type of deck based on card backs, but you'll quickly unlock more, and each one has a different bonus. Like the red deck gives an extra discard each round, so you can pitch stuff from your hand to redraw more often, allowing you to dig for the perfect cards. The blue deck is the same, except you can play an extra hand each round instead of the extra discard. Yellow gives extra money, but they get pretty out there. Like the checkered deck gives you a deck that starts off already as half hearts and half spades with no diamonds or clubs. This let me do a run where I entirely focused on just spamming flushes, so all 5 cards being the same suit, and going all in on just throwing out the 5 best hearts every single hand. Many of these decks encourage you to try different strategies based on their strengths and weaknesses, and it keeps the game feeling very fresh every time you boot it up, but that's far from where it stops also. Whenever you beat the 8th ante with a deck, you'll clear that stake, which is basically a difficulty level for that deck, allowing you to raise the stakes on later runs. These add restrictions and other things that make it harder and harder. For example, the red stake makes it so you don't get money from the small blinds, limiting your income that you can upgrade the deck with. The blue stake makes it so you have 1 less discard each round, so it's harder to dig for what you really want. There's 8 different stakes, but they're actually additive, so to clear all 8 of them can be quite the challenge. But that's okay, because the game is really built for the challenge. The combos you can find as you work on trying to craft the perfect decks and the perfect strategies can be outrageous, with scores so high they go into scientific notation because the number is too big to fit into the little window. Maybe the target score is something like 5e10, representing 50 million, and it just goes up and up and up, technically infinitely high if you let it, because once you clear all 8 of your antes, you can enter endless mode and just go forever. But I have not yet had the great fortune of experiencing numbers of quite this magnitude, but I look forward to the day that I do. While all of these mechanics lend to Balatro's replayability, the game's intangibles are hypnotic. The art design is familiar with the poker cards and the chips and the booster packs, but then the way it gets turned on its head with the brilliantly stylized Joker cards is captivating in its own right, with some really terrific pixel art, but put into what could otherwise pass for Windows 3.0 solitaire if you look at it like really quickly. Combined with the subtle but excellent sound design of the shuffling and the cards flicking onto the table and the noises of the stacking poker chips and everything else is just, oh, so satisfying. And the music. Balatro has like one song, but the one song is a banger, and the loop on it is so like effortless and perfect. It helps in just letting the time melt away. I have yet to meet a person that's played this game and not experienced the phenomenon of time travel. Just like, oh, I'll play a little bit of Balatro before bed, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, whatever. And then you check the time to see how much longer you had to go before you should stop, and discover that 3 hours had passed like it was nothing. And all of this leads me to the segment I've been looking forward to with the debut of this new form of content, which is, of course, the old form of content. I've got to place Balatro into my rankings, and without further ado, Balatro is my new 87th favorite game. It finds a home nestled between Guitar Hero 3 and NBA Street Volume 2 for its incredible replayability, overwhelming charm, and big number engines that captured my imagination and got me excited with every new Joker I found, every new strategy I thought to try, and things that I didn't even think were going to work, and then lo and behold, they synergize in this really cool way, and it's always so exciting when you're just like throwing stuff together and discover that, oh, this is actually really good to do, and it's great. If you want to review the overall rankings, I am keeping a live updated version for you all that is linked in the description below this video, but that's all I have for Balatro, at least for now. Maybe I'll do something with it later, but that's all for me today, and I'm gonna head out, but I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I hope I see you for my next game to add to the rankings, where I'm just a cube